I'm going to go from there.
Yo, what up, Steph?
Hey, how you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with the DFS Cheat Sheet squad, and we're here to break down the 2020 NFL draft so far, breaking down the first round, kind of seeing what we thought about it and what we can look forward to in the upcoming rounds. So how you guys doing out there today? Guys, ready to?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Yeah.
I know there's some stuff to talk about in the first round. I know you and I, we love the pick that we ended up falling on with CeeDee Lamb. We talked about it last night. That's a steal for Dallas. I think a couple of other teams feel like they got some steals in the draft. I know a couple of these guys are a little bit irritated and want to get some things off their chest, especially Chris, man. I know Chris has got some stuff he wants to say.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hey, you guys really got me looking forward to this NFL season. Hey, Chris, how you doing out there? You all right, bro? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm in Detroit. Things are going well.
We couldn't tell by the attire.
I really don't. I've had this hat since I was 8 years old, so, and it still brought me zero luck as far as football is concerned. But as it stands right now, I won't bore you guys. We all know the Lions took Jeff Okudah second overall, and then to me, it's shocking that they took DeAndre Swift, Georgia's running back, in the second round. I had mentioned last night how it would be fantastic if they could grab one of those stud safeties like Grant Delpit, who was there, but he fell. Cleveland grabbed him. So as it stands now, my biggest question, and we can talk about it and answer it later after we talk to Ben, David, and Ethan, is now what does Detroit do? They drafted Kerryon 2 years ago in the second round. Now they got Swift in the second round. Is it a 1-2 punch? Is it we don't trust Kerryon to stay healthy? I don't know. Let's talk about it. What's going on with you, Ben?
Oh, I'm just trying to recoup after last night's, I wouldn't necessarily say disaster, but, the fun that went on in the draft.
Did you have a heart attack?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I had a mini heart attack for a second.
Defensive back, right? I mean, defensive back. And then, Chris, I'm going to throw this out there to you guys real quick. I would like to get all your guys' opinion. When we did the mock draft, we did our pre-draft fantasy draft, right?
Yes.
When the guy I wanted to ask the question, but it just never came up, was who's high on Kerryon Johnson? Like, is Detroit high on him? And because they've got a beast that's been there, right? I mean, they've got the kid from Alabama, Bo Scarborough. That kid's a beast when he's been able to run the football. He's just he's had some bad things happen in his life from a personal standpoint, but this just kind of solidifies that they're not high on Kerryon Johnson at all. Would you agree?
I agree with you. Yes. And in his 2 professional seasons, he's missed significant time in both seasons. He last season, that's the closest thing we can talk about, but he missed half the season, came back for 4 games, looked okay, but Bo looked phenomenal. He started to be like one of those like a Rudy type where he
like Brandon Jacobs.
Yeah. And the city of Detroit fell in love with him, and then Kerryon came back and he started the last 4 games of the season. So we thought, well, maybe in 2020 things will be well. We got Kerryon and we got Bo, and it's a 1-2. And then the Lions, they threw us a curveball with Swift. So someone is going to be the odd man out. Teams can carry 3 running backs. What is the propensity of having 3 running backs and all 3 guys are seeing regular playing time? It just doesn't happen. We've transitioned though to pro football teams having 2 backs, the 1-2 punch. You know what I mean? So if Kerryon, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a gypsy. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what's going to happen. But as it stands right now, Kerryon is healthy. They've drafted Swift. On paper, that looks fantastic for the Lions backfield so far.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm ready to kind of jump into this, and we'll get the main topics out the way that we kind of want to discuss on this video. Some things that we do want to go over. We're going to talk about the biggest first round shock of the draft so far, potential best pick that there was in the first round. The biggest player that we feel that can have the biggest impact of everybody drafted later. Later on in his career. Last but not least, we want to talk about this overlook of what some teams should be doing kind of in these later rounds to kind of help kind of fill out their rosters. So yeah, man, I mean, definitely if you guys want to get started, let's go.
Yeah, well, let's get right into the first question. I'll ask it of you guys. What was the biggest first round shock? Like, we've heard that the second round is the deepest, most talented second round of all time, where you're getting first round talent in the second round. So I take that as in the first round, that's really, you can't miss on any of those picks. But as we know, that's not going to be the case. So I'll throw it to you, David. Who's your first round selection that was the most shocking to you?
I'll give you kind of two, a good and like a bad one. CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys, I thought was a great selection. And then Eagles taking Ruger over Justin Jefferson was kind of more of a head scratcher. I mean, I like Ruger as a prospect, but I just did not see that one happening at all.
How about you, Ben? Who's your first round shock?
For me, I think it had to have been Seattle and Jordan Brooks. I just, it would a guy who people thought was going second, late second, maybe early third. Seattle just took their guy before anybody else even had a chance. I mean, to me, that's probably the most shocking pick so far, I believe, or one of them, in that first round.
What about you, Eason? Who's the most shocking pick for you personally in the first round?
I think so much has happened that a lot of people have forgot about Andrew Thomas going fourth to the Giants. I think a lot of people had him third or fourth on their offensive tackle list, and he was the first one off the board.
So that one I'm not as shocked about, because a couple weeks ago I did hear that Thomas was going to be selected as the first tackle, and it was one of those things where I believed it, but I almost didn't want to, and I just kept going in a different direction in my final mocks, and it did happen. So it's one of those things I definitely heard and thought could definitely happen. So it's like it was shocking, but wasn't for me at least.
To me, it wasn't shocking at all. I mean, he was the most polished tackle in this whole class that was ready to just throw him in there and he could start from day one without any restrictions or anything. He was already a left tackle who can play a little bit of right if need be. So I think it was a smooth pick for New York, and I think it was probably the best pick they could have made.
Hey, Chris, who did you say yours was?
I didn't really have one. I didn't give you one. I was asking the other guys. I think to me it would be, just looking it over, that AJ Terrell pick by the Falcons. I don't know if you touched on it, Ben. I know you weren't happy with it. There was, Chason was there, Rieger was there, the center was there, although you guys have drafted a lot of offensive line talent recently. But I know that AJ Terrell was like a stud cornerback. I just didn't see them going that route. And I don't know if it was shocking for anybody else, but it was shocking to me, given the plethora of offensive talent that was still out there when they picked.
To me, what was shocking the most was the fact that, not that they took AJ Terrell, because I would have been happy with him. I think what shocked me the most was they just took him at pick 16 instead of trying to trade back. And we know, if we found out later today that, the Eagles tried to trade with him, it didn't work out. They made the pick at pick 16. If they would have traded back maybe to 2024, I'd have been okay with a pick there. And if somebody took him, all these cornerbacks are basically almost on the same level. I'd have been happy with taking one of the other ones.
Hey, did you have one, Jeremy, or no?
1 through 6 was exactly like everybody thought it was going to play out. As much as we wanted to have some drama with trades and not see Detroit possibly make that pick with Okudah and maybe be able to move back, or something dramatic happen with Tua, 1 through 6 happened exactly like everybody thought it was going to get, especially from the standpoint of who the need was. They got the need they wanted. So you could say Andrew Thomas was a bit of a shock as far as the player goes, but the position they drafted, they took a tackle. Everybody knew they were going to take a tackle. The draft got interesting at 7. I think that Carolina not taking Simmons and taking Brown, I think that was a little bit of a shock. That was like, okay, you can justify the pick. They got a defensive line need. I think that it's a huge win for Arizona to get a player like Isaiah Simmons, and especially in a spot where they could have taken CeeDee Lamb and paired him with Kyler Murray, very familiar too. Would have been a very familiar tandem right there. And with what they've got coming back at the receiver position, the addition of Hopkins, etc. So it was a little bit of a shock. They took the best player on the board, and that's pretty much, I think, what the theme of yesterday was for the most part, teams took the number one player on their draft board, and then you get to 7, you get to 8, you get to 9, 10 was a little bit of a shock for me to see Cleveland do the right thing. Cleveland did the right thing, and it's been a long time since Cleveland has had a general manager and a front office that does the right thing. They did the right thing. They took a boring pick. They took a tackle. They took a very good tackle. I thought the best tackle in the entire draft. The second best tackle goes next in Becton, in my opinion. And then is Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Ruggs sitting there. The Raiders took the Al Davis pick. They took Ruggs. And then it kind of got interesting, right? Because everybody thought that you'd see the 49ers take a receiver. Everybody thought that you'd see, the Jeudy. I think in our mock drafts, we had Jeudy falling to 15 to Denver. That happened. And then here we go. CeeDee Lamb is still on the board. There's a bunch of good defensive line talent on the board. And what does Atlanta do? They take a freaking corner, right? That, to me, was the shock of the draft. That was like, Steph, how long have we been talking DFS and talking defense, and we get on our videos and we break it down for the week, and it's like, is Atlanta ever going to do anything to make their defense and front seven better? And they go and get a corner.
They did. Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, man, we'll move on. The next thing we kind of want to touch on. I want to get your guys' opinion on the best potential picks of the first round overall. Just who do you guys think maybe teams really came up like that was a really good pick, good steal, and really helped themselves out?
Well, if I can speak for a moment, hopefully going first, I don't steal everybody's thunder, but all I saw last night on social media was about Kansas City and them drafting Clyde Edwards, the running back out of LSU. So I'm not going to talk that one up. We all know that is. To me, I love the Patrick Queen pick to Baltimore. Pick 28. They picked out the LSU stud linebacker and Patrick Queen. When you think of Baltimore, what's the first thing you think of? Just a hammering, thundering defense. And then they add this kid to he's an inside linebacker. Nowadays, with these kids being so athletic and stuff, they can play all over the place. Like, let's say Simmons will be able to play all over the place once he picks up some more steam. But Patrick Queen, to me, 28th by Baltimore was an absolute home run.
For sure. Next Ray Lewis or what?
I wouldn't say that. I don't know if anybody's the next Ray Lewis, but that would be.
That's what Lamar Jackson's saying.
There was a next Raven in this draft, and I can't believe he went as far as he went. I do think that Delpit is the next Ed Reed. I do think that. I think he's that good. I'm shocked that he went where he went to Cleveland. I'm shocked that he didn't get. That's really, to me, the shock of the draft so far, that Detroit took Okudah, could have paired up Delpit, and they would have had their secondary set for the next 5 to 6 years. I'm shocked. That's to me the shock of the draft so far.
But with it, like, if Detroit, and you and I chat, actually all of us chat throughout the day about nonsense, various topics. And I said it last night in our video, and then I texted you again early this afternoon, and I said the exact same thing. The Lions drafting Okudah was okay, but if you paired him with Xavier McKinney, Alabama safety, or Grant Delpit, the LSU safety, that's fantastic. That makes their third overall pick of Okudah that much sweeter, because you're getting together something special in the secondary. But that made too much sense, and the Lions rarely make sense. And what do? They draft another supposedly stud running back in the second round, just like 2018. Sorry to keep harping on it, but it just keeps replaying in my mind. So,
hey, Ben, what you got for us, Ben?
If we're talking about someone who I can see, so I'm going back and I'm looking over it, and I was just paying attention to what Green Bay just did a second ago. So I think the best pick in the whole first round, it's got to be what Dallas did. They just kept adding, add. Give reason to Dak to come back. You can't guard all three of them.
Yeah, no, I like it for sure. David, what you got for us, bro?
I'll go where no one's really thinking of. It's not the sexiest pick, but the Saints taking Cesar Ruiz. It's a pick I was considering earlier in the day for my final mock. I had 4 or 5 pieces of paper here, and I had that written down on 2 or 3 of them before I did my final. Breeze hates interior pressure. They have a great center. They're going to move him to guard, and it's just shoring up that whole offensive line. Well, and that too. But it's going to shore up that offensive line and allow Breeze in his last year or two to really go after and get that ring for him.
For sure.
I have a Sorry to cut you off. I have a question for Eason real quick. So you're a Patriots fan. You're wearing the hat. We talked in length about the Patriots and what your method was. And I saw last night on your social media that you said that New England blew it. They had Kenneth Murray, inside linebacker from Oklahoma, in their lap, and they traded away. So maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit, even though it's a little bit self-explanatory here, Eason.
Right. So, I mean, they had, in the past, a good defense for the Patriots has always been centered around their linebackers. Whether it's been Dante Hightower or Kyle Van Noy, it's always been centered around the linebacker. So when Van Noy goes to Detroit, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they have to find something to do for an elite linebacker. And you could argue what they did in the second round with getting Uche, but I think Murray was the best possible scenario that New England could have had in the first round. They get to the 23rd pick. Murray's still on the board. And what do? They trade away the pick so that Los Angeles can take Murray. I just don't get it.
I agree with you because if I'm not mistaken, Jamie Collins is now a Detroit Lion, and we all know that Trey Flowers is a Lion now, but that they signed him last season. So they're just shedding pieces. They're hemorrhaging players, and there must be a plan here, but in true Bill Belichick fashion, we won't know and we won't see it until it hits us right in the face. You know what I mean?
Hey, Ethan, what was that pick for us? Best pick first round.
Yeah, so I think of the ones that haven't been mentioned yet, how about Jefferson going to Minnesota at 22? Eagles take Rager, and then Jefferson lands right in Minnesota's lap. It was a steal for them, and it was probably a pick that makes them one of the winners of the first round.
For sure. Do you have one, Jay?
The steal? Is that what we're talking about? The steal of the first round?
Yes. No, yeah. Best pick of first round overall.
CeeDee Lamb to Dallas. It's the best pick of the first round. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are going to make an impact, I think, on their teams this season. I think, there's a lot of unsung picks here that are going to make a big impact. Chase Young's definitely going to make an impact. But by far, the steal of the first round is CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you've already got Amari Cooper. We know the talent of Michael Gallup. He had flashes of brilliance last year. You've got Zeke back there. You've got that awesome offensive line. I will say this. If Dallas doesn't get to the NFC, I'm not going to say Super Bowl. If they don't get to the NFC Championship game this year, Jerry Jones cannot be the general manager anymore.
Yeah. Hey, I'm feeling good about it. New coach, got some talent. We're ready to go for sure. So moving on, next topic we kind of want to hit. What player was picked in the first round yesterday that you guys feel has the biggest overall upside, can be that next top 5 guy in the NBA, in the NFL possibly?
Well, I'll grab it right off the gate. I got 2 guys real quick. I can't tell you how excited I am for Clyde Edwards going to Kansas City. If any of you guys are social media savvy, I'm sure you've seen it until you've been blue in the face that it's such a stud pick. It's the upside there is crazy from a fantasy standpoint. Even in Superflex leagues, which Superflex is you're able to start basically 2 quarterbacks, that he's going to be a top 3 choice as far as that's concerned. But my one that I find surprising that nobody's talking about is Green Bay's selection of Jordan Love to back up Rodgers. What are they going to do there? You know, people start to freak out and say, well, that means Aaron Rodgers, they're going to trade him or he's going to retire. I don't think that. I think he sits down for the season and learns, and it's going to pay dividends next season at the earliest. You know, people see.
They actually said today that they're fine for him sitting the next 4 years.
4 seasons. Okay. Well,
then it's on. They said today that it's on Rodgers. That if Rodgers keeps him on the bench, Rodgers keeps him on the bench.
Okay. Well, I take that back, and it's the same idea. It's Justin Herbert going to the Chargers. He's going into a situation, and he's going to start right off the bat. Eckler and Keenan Allen are there. It's not a crappy team. So Herbert is going to be in there, and he's going to be able to do what he wants. He's their starting quarterback. They didn't draft him 6 overall for no reason when we know that they could have traded those picks, and they just didn't do that.
The thing that I should have picked up on when you were so high on Clyde Edwards-Helaire is Andy Reid. If you look at Andy Reid and the type, I mean, look at what he did in Philadelphia, right? Everybody criticized him because he wanted to throw the ball too much. They drafted a running back. I'm going to tell you right now that the 55 receptions that Edwards-Helaire had last year in college, that's what they drafted this kid for. They're going to throw him screen. That's why they went and got Shady McCoy, and it didn't pan out. They're going to throw this kid screen pass after screen pass after screen pass. They're going to throw him on the perimeter. This guy's going to be a PPR monster.
It's going to be wild to see what they do with we already know the roster, Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and the potential there is insane, right? We've seen him play in college. We know what Tyreek Hill's about. They're the defending Super Bowl champion, for God's sake. So there's a lot to like about that pick. What do you think? What were you thinking, Ben? The first round, you know, with the guy with the most upside, can't miss kind of pick.
Oh, it's Derek Brown. You know, Derek Brown going to Carolina. And after what Carolina did in the second round and what they just did here in the third round, they're putting together a nasty squad. You know, they're trying to make sure they put as much pressure on Breeze and Brady, Nick, going into next year, and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, they drafted Gross Matos, defensive end from David's, Penn State University.
State. And they just took Jeremy Chun, safety. They're loading up. They're making it really hard out there in the South.
Sure. What you got
every
for us,
season?
I really like the pick. Even though he might not have been the most talented wide receiver taken, I think Henry Ruggs, the speedster, going to Las Vegas makes so much sense. You've got a division with so many fast wide receivers, so Oakland getting something to match that makes so much sense to me.
David?
I'm going to go with 2 at 5. You're getting your quarterback there. You can technically redshirt him since he seems healthy enough to play, but you can redshirt him with Fitzmagic out there. They're not going to win next year. Everyone knows that. It allows them to rest him up, let him learn, and keep building a talented team, which they're having a great draft right now. And I think you're getting a future star quarterback there, and they're able to stay at 5 and get him.
For sure. And Chris, I didn't mean to cut you off. What you have for us, bro?
I was just going to say every season, I'm sure, tell me guys if you can relate. Every season, another team puts together a draft that you're like super envious of. Oh, I wish the Lions would have done that. I wish the Pittsburgh Steelers would have done that. And Carolina's having that draft now that I'm envious of. Like, you know.
It saddens me.
What's that?
It saddens me.
Yeah, you and me both, although.
You don't have to face them twice a year. Don't give me that.
I know. No, that's what I was going to say. We play Carolina once a year, nothing crazy, but they're having the draft that I hope the Lions would have. And to be honest with you, as a lifelong Detroiter and a Lions fan, am I ever going to feel that for a Lions draft, that they put something together and you're just in love with every pick? I think I'm just destined for heartache and heartbreak constantly with this team.
Hey, Jeremy, what was the guy you had, bro?
Real quick, does anybody remember the kid that Carolina took, the defensive end they took like 6 or 7 years ago? and the first day of rookie OTAs, he blew his ACL? Who was that? Nobody remembers?
I don't know.
God, I have to look that up. But yeah, so this is the best defensive line draft. I mean, they've drafted defense. Carolina's making it. I mean, they're gonna, that tells you that, you know, you can be envious of this draft, but they obviously know they have zero freaking offense, none. What was the question, Steph? I'm sorry, man. I was over here doing some stuff.
Hey, you're good, bro. I'm used to you getting off topic a little bit.
What was the question?
The question was the biggest overall, the player with the biggest overall, like who has the most upside that was drafted round one?
I think that the Raiders made the upside pick. That was the upside guy of the first round. His talent is, he's so talented that you can justify the pick and where he went, but you have to say he's the upside pick. I mean, he's the guy that takes the lid off the defense. Yeah, you can say he's got some people say he's got the best hands on that Alabama team, but that's the biggest upside pick in the first round. If they hit a home run with him, then the Raiders are going to be in the playoffs this year. That's the guy. He's going to be the linchpin in their offense, in my opinion. He'll open everything up. He'll get teams in two high shells. They'll be able to run the football. They've got other weapons too. So I think that guy's got the biggest upside potential, in my opinion. These other guys, if they can only bust. The rest of the guys in the first round, the expectations are so high. My opinion, they can only bust. I don't see anybody else. I mean, I don't want to go with Chris's pick, but those are the two guys to me that are pure upside.
For sure. So yeah, man. I mean, we'll move on to our final topic. I mean, what can we kind of look forward to in these later rounds? Kind of, we can kind of talk a little bit about the second round, some good picks there, and kind of what we think is going to kind of finish off in the third round. So yeah, I'll give you the floor, Chris.
I'm going to defer to Ben for the moment.
Okay.
Are you going to break stuff because they just took Julian Okwara?
Me or Ben?
He might.
Chris.
No, not at all. I don't have. We're just here chatting live. I haven't really. I haven't looked at it. Who did they select?
They took Okwara from Notre Dame.
Edge rusher. Pretty good.
I'll get back to you. I want to hear what Ben or David has to say.
Yeah, that's actually a really good pick for Detroit. I like the edge rusher position right there coming off. The second round was full of all kinds of surprises throughout the entire second round. The biggest surprise for me was A.J. Dillon going to the Packers. I don't know why A.J. Dillon, what the pick was behind it. You've already got Aaron Jones. You got Jamal Williams. Why they need A.J. Dillon, I don't know. They went Love with their first pick in the first. They traded up to get him. Seems like they wasted their pick here in the second. I don't know if they're trying to get Aaron Rodgers to want to leave on his own or what, but Green Bay's not making it easy out there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure what Green Bay is kind of doing there. They still need to get another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just looking at some of the players that are still on the board, there's a couple big names that are still falling as we're getting towards the end of the third and ready to go in the fourth round. That it shows you the depth of this class that there's going to be some great picks in these late rounds. There's still some good tight ends, a couple quarterbacks I'm still interested to see go. And then the Jalen Hurts pick by Eagles was one that I'm kind of shaking my head, scratching my head, like, what were they doing that pick there?
Pulling your hair out.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz can't stay healthy.
He's kind of a China doll.
I mean, still, but I mean, Jalen Hurts in the second round when you need a linebacker and you dressed a wide receiver early, there's still other needs that I think you could have definitely taken over Jalen Hurts.
I'm big into a guy that I'm looking at in the third round. Hopefully, in the third round is Jacob Eason from Washington's quarterback. I have Ben's full mock draft. He did all 255 selections, all 7 rounds. You got Jacob Eason going 71st to the Chargers, and I think that's a great play. And the third round will be I firmly believe that the third round is just going to be loaded with defensive picks, cornerbacks, linebackers, things of that nature. So obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but we have some sort of a feeling because we prepared ahead for this,
Well, I hope Jacob Eason doesn't go to the Chargers now.
I'm hoping he falls to 102 to the Steelers.
Yeah, hey, that's a good pick. I think if he falls to Detroit might have to consider taking him.
So worth noting, the Chargers don't have 71 now. The Ravens do because the Patriots traded with the Ravens to get into the late second round.
Yep.
Hey, Jeremy, what's your thoughts on these later rounds, bro?
I can't get past Green Bay. I don't know what the hell Green Bay is doing. I really don't. I mean, are they building? I mean, Aaron Jones is a stud. I don't know. I mean, what do you need AJ Dillon for? I don't understand what Green Bay is doing. They're throwing the draft away. Are they like trying to get their practice squad better? Are they going to, I don't understand what they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing. Another team that I'm shocked with is I'm a little bit confused with Chicago. I mean, their defense, that's been the thing they could hang their hat on. They've got a really good defense. Their offense is terrible. They misuse the running back, and then they select a cornerback here in the second round. I don't know. I mean, you've got you've got 3 tight ends on your roster. I know, and the kid's name is slipping me because we're not in the middle of NFL right now. But no, not Komet, but
Jimmy Graham.
Who's the big tight end that they had on their roster that was really good last year until he got hurt?
They had Trey Burton, but they cut him. But they signed Jimmy Graham.
And then they signed Jimmy Graham, and now you just your two picks in the second round, you take a tight end. Some of these teams, I don't know what the hell they do. I really don't. I from a football standpoint, I look at this and Carolina's winning the draft by far. Carolina's winning the draft. I think Miami's done a really good job. I'm interested to see how Miami continues to build. They got a tackle. They got their quarterback. They've gotten some defensive help. They got, a guard. Miami's made the most of their picks. I think Carolina's made the most of their picks. That's what I'm interested in. I want to see the teams that are failing the draft. I think they're going to continue to fail the draft. But to me, Dallas, I don't understand the cornerback pick with Trayvon Diggs. It's a good player. You need a safety. I don't understand not moving up in the second round when you collected a pick in the first round. I don't know why you wouldn't move up here and get Delpit or get Winfield with them still there. The rest of this Cleveland's winning, Carolina's winning, and Miami's winning. The rest of these teams, I don't know what the hell they're doing. I really don't.
I agree with you. Quick question.
It's not like there's better players now. We're getting to the end of the – when you get to the third round, we're talking about guys who've got to have a chance to make the team now. We're not talking about impact players.
Yeah. Looking over the round one of the actual draft, if you look, the Seahawks at pick 27 took Texas Tech linebacker Jordan Brooks, right? And in a lot of mocks that I've seen, even the mock that Ben wrote, you didn't have Jordan Brooks being drafted until the third round, yet Seattle took him late in the first round. Is that just the old idea of get our guy when we can, screw best player, screw this, just take the guy that we want?
I think that's pretty much what that pick was, and that's what they were saying. I didn't like the pick at all. But hey, it wasn't my pick to have. If it was me, I would have went, for Isaiah Wilson. But they didn't take him, and he went 2 picks later to Tennessee. The Brooks was a head scratcher. It really was.
I was a little bit higher on Brooks. I had him going probably early to mid second round. I actually really liked this tape, and when I was scouting him, I did see someone post something, and I kind of played it off. They had an article before it came out the draft that Brooks was going to be drafted before Queen. And I didn't think that realistically was going to happen at all. I'm kind of shocked that it did.
One pick.
I agree. It's definitely a reach. I do love the player. After when I was scouting him, I really did like him. But I thought he was going to go early second, but it still was a reach there at 27.
Well, to be fair with you, Jeremy, as a Lions fan, I don't mind that Green Bay and Chicago are just striking out at all facets here.
I don't know what they're doing.
All right, so just to kind of piggyback off kind of what you guys are talking about right now, quick question for all you guys. Kind of, I want to know who is your guys' biggest winner so far, and who is your guys' biggest loser so far in this 2020 draft. That's my final thing I want to hear from you guys, if you guys don't mind. So, Chris, we'll let you kind of finish it off because you're already on that topic a little bit.
Sure. We talked about it when we opened the video. Carolina is putting together something that I'm envious of as a Detroit Lions fan. The Jets taking Becton at 11 was massive. Offensive tackle from Louisville. You know, Darnold's the man. We thought maybe they were going to go with a stud receiver at pick 11, but they pulled in the reins and they did the right thing for long-term success.
Ethan, what you got for us?
I think that the Niners are not being talked enough of as a team that's winning. I was surprised that they went Kinlaw as their first pick instead of going with one of those receivers. And then after getting Kinlaw, who's a great defensive lineman, they go and get Ayuk with their 31st pick. I think that really sealed it and made him a team to watch in the draft.
Real quick, if I can jump in, Jeremy, you might be able to answer this better, and even Eason, since you're talking about it. The 49ers have how many good running backs on their team? Jeremy, you mentioned it last night, how Raheem Mostert is a stud. If he can get full-time carries, he'll show us what we can do. But isn't there still Jerick McKinnon is still there as well? And then they draft Ayuk there. It doesn't.
He's a wide receiver.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to me.
He's a wide receiver though.
Oh, I thought he was one of those running back wide receiver flex kind of guys.
No.
I could be wrong here, but Brandon Ayuk was a junior college transfer, and didn't have a great junior year at Arizona State, but had a really good senior year at Arizona State. And he's a kid that I was really high on. I thought I totally forgot about that. I'm glad Ethan brought that up. But the 49ers, I thought that was a steal. The kid's a first-round talent. I watched him play a lot, watching Pac-12 football. He had really strong games against probably 6 teams this year, and then he had kind of just run-of-the-mill games. But he's a really good talent. He probably didn't get as much hype. I think that when you look at the history of the draft, most junior college transfers don't get as much hype as 4-year D1 players. But that's a really good point that Ethan brought up. The 49ers, I would put them also in that group as winning.
I feel like I'm kind of on the opposite of on the 49ers. Not that it's necessarily a bad draft. I like that they moved back one pick and got 117 and got Ken Law. I mean, I like the player. I think it's a good pick. I still don't understand why they traded a defensive tackle just to draft one. I know the money part, but their D-line was still solid. They have other needs. They could have gotten a truly stud wide receiver. But then they traded the 117 to trade back up to get Ayuk. And then now they don't have a pick until 150th or something, or somewhere around there. So I like the players that they got. I think the way they acquired them and overall their draft pick management was not the best. And I kind of downgrade what they did overall just because of that.
You got anything for us, Jeremy?
I mean, I think I've pretty much covered my winners and losers. Dallas, to me, they won. Is in the first round, and then it's a head scratcher in the second round. Detroit is the same thing. I didn't like them taking that player in that spot in the first round. I thought if they were able to get Delpit or even Winfield and pair that secondary up, it would have made a lot of sense to put, you've taken care of the back half of your defense for the next 4 to 6 years. So that's a head scratcher. There's a lot of head scratchers in this. And the great thing about the NFL draft is there's 55 players that are going to get taken. There's going to be some diamonds in the rough. There's going to be some teams that make late picks. Bill Belichick made a second-round pick that's a Bill Belichick pick. The safety they took, I mean, that's a Bill Belichick pick. He could have taken Delpit. He could have taken 2 D1 kids, and he takes the kid that hasn't had a first-round draft pick, I think Ben said, since, 12 years ago? That's a Bill Belichick pick, right? But Miami and Carolina are winning the draft. I think that
Agreed.
Miami and Carolina are by far winning the draft. Miami's done Jimmy Johnson said it a long time ago. It's one thing to get the picks, but it's what you do with the picks when you have them. And Miami is doing a really good job. Like, they traded away a lot of players and collected a lot of picks, and they've made the most, at least on paper right now, with what they had. They've just taking Brandon Jones now. I have Brandon Jones as a top 5 safety in the draft. They just took him with the 70th pick. They've filled out their roster. They're filling holes on that roster with talent. So Miami's by far the biggest winner.
Yeah.
Baltimore sneaking up there at the moment too after that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Yeah. I mean, Justin Matabuki he's no little man, and that man can.
Yeah, and I'm shocked he fell into the 70s. I thought he was going to go around the 50, 60 area. So
yes, he was a first-round talent. He just got taken in the 3rd.
For sure. Hey, man, I think that's really where we're at, kind of summing up the 2020 draft as of where it is right now. Hey, there really isn't no sports for us to watch right now, but hey, we're here every single day talking sports. So make sure and click that subscribe button, and make sure to check out the site, DFSCheatSheet.com. Thank you guys, all you guys, very much for getting on this video and kind of talking some football with us, and looking forward to the next video. All right, guys? Peace out.
Thank you.